Welcome to our At the Net segment. I'm Connor Onion. We're talking Bradley Braves volleyball with Alicia Williams, the head coach of the Bradley Braves. Coach, thanks for taking the time for us. Good to talk to you. How are things in Peoria?
They're good. We're really excited that we finally got to be home this past weekend. We were on the road for 3 weekends straight, so the girls were really excited. They finally got to sleep in their own beds, and we got to open up Valley Plays, so we can't be, complaining too much.
Yeah, always a good thing to sleep in the own bed. How do you feel about the second group? This is your second team. What do you like most about the group that you have?
I really like the girls this year. I feel like we brought in some of our own recruits, which is always nice to just be able to go through that process with a kid and be able to meet the family and really get to know them and invest in them before you choose them. And not that the ones that I inherited are bad eggs by any means. They're great young women as well, but it's just nice to be able to have a little bit of say in the puzzle pieces. And so I think that this group is a good mix of both. Some of the recruits that Carol brought in, really great athletes, really great people, and then some of the recruits that we brought in. So it's a good mix right now. But I will just say, first and foremost, that the buy-in is just it's peaked this year, where last year it just took a lot of time and effort. And this year, I think that we've worked really hard in the off season to make sure that culture was important and that we had some accountability in what our responsibilities were. And so I just really enjoy the group a lot. They work really hard. They're really focused, and we've gone through tons of adversity. Every team can say that, so I'm not using that as an excuse at all. But we've really had to get creative, and I think a lot of teams could just want to kind of roll over and give up. And I feel like we are wanting to push forward in that, and that's sometimes rare. And so I really appreciate the girls really wanting to, come in each and every day and figure out, what our new lineup's going to be and what's going to happen. And we're anxious to kind of see how that progresses through the Valley, and how we do. So
You mentioned some of the adversity and maybe getting creative and trying to plow through some of that adversity. Who's kind of been a positive force as far as one of your players and getting through some of the more challenging moments?
yeah, I think our 5th years here. So Drew is a grad. Drew Cook is my transfer from Alabama. She's a grad, and she just has a no excuses mentality. The ball is up all the time kind of mentality. And she's been a really great leader coming in here first time in August. And then Kerrigan Coggin, obviously she's had tons of experience. She's played every year she's been here. With her getting that COVID 5th year, she's really stepped up and tried to just hold some pieces together when some of our other players have been injured. And we even threw Kerrigan on the outside this past year, or this past game. We're like, let's see what you got, because we're just trying to work through a lot of things. And she's like, yep, just give me the ball. And so both of those girls have been tremendous leaders on and off the court.
So you mentioned the older players. I want to go to one of your underclassmen, Kendall Minta, playing out of the middle. 4th in the Valley in hitting percentage. She's top 10 in blocks. What's impressed you most about what you've gotten out of that middle block?
I think Kendall has just really she's grown within her vision. So she's able to just see a little bit better, especially, last year coming in as a freshman. She can attest to this. She'd be like, well, I don't really know what I was looking at there. And this year she's done a lot better job of just kind of understanding the game a little bit more. She's always had some talent. So now it's just great to see her put that together in her mind too. And she's just steady. And she was steady last year, but she's just steady. And we know that under pressure situations, we can get her the ball.
When do you feel like the light kind of went on for her when you mentioned she wasn't really sure what she was looking at, and now she's kind of found that? I
mean, we worked really hard with her in the off season, just asking the question, like, what are you looking at right now? What do you see right now? And so I think for her to be forced to dissect it really helped her progress. But I think she just came in August, and she was a little grittier. She had some middles that were really pushing her hard too, and she didn't have that quite as much last year. Not that they weren't high caliber athletes last year, but I just feel like she felt a little more pressure as one of the 4 underclassmen that we have. I felt like she felt a little bit more pressure to, I need to progress this year over, coming in as a freshman, I have a little bit less expectation of my role. This year, I feel like because she had a lot of time last year, she felt like she needed to, put a little bit more into that. And so I think you can just see that in her demeanor and how she carries herself on the court.
Bringing this kind of full circle, you're talking about how you're building a little bit. This is year 2. You come from a place where you built a national championship caliber program, winning back-to-back titles in junior college at Iowa Western. What similarities do you see between some of your early years there when you're building the program and the first 2 years at Bradley?
I think I'm an analyzer at heart. And so I want to just be able to observe a lot before I really can put something into play. I don't think that I work well when I have to just go in not knowing and just say, this is what's going to happen. I like to really figure out how the puzzle works and what areas we need to piece together. And I think that that's probably one of my strengths. And so those things take time. And so especially when you inherit an entire team, it takes a little time to know where our areas of strengths are. And we can't just compare ourselves to other teams in the Valley. I think that we're really different from other teams in the Valley. And so we're a little bit bigger. We don't run a really fast tempo offense. And so trying to not focus on those areas and just get a feel for what the teams are like in the Valley too. It's drastically different than it was when I played in the Valley. And so just understanding that I had to see what the Valley had to offer, and you have to live that and experience that before you can really put some things in place. I think that took actually not just watching a lot of film, but really just having those matches and seeing where we fall short. And we played, last year, our record, I think it was like 6-10 or something like that. It wasn't great. But I think we were really close in a lot of matches, and we got, we had a lot of fifth set matches. And so for us, I knew that talent wise, we're really close. And so I think we've just kind of taken those baby steps where we need to. We already started out a lot better than we did last year. We'll see how we can maneuver around some of these injuries, but I liked that we opened up play with Drake and you and I right out of the gate, because we need to see where we stand and go from there. And so we're just going to put our heads down and keep grinding and keep going. But yeah, I think it takes time. It takes just kind of living that for a year or two. And so it stunk. I went from being a national champion and losing 3 or 4 matches to only winning, 10 matches. And so it wasn't fun by any means. I'm a competitor at heart. I just think we can win any game that we put any opponent. I just think we're winning every game. And so it's really hard to just have your belief tested like that. But I do think we have a really good group, and I think we're going to be a lot more competitive this year.
Did you guys do national championship rings when you were at Iowa?
We sure did. I've got 3 of them, and I like to still share them because I'm like, it's something. It was a lot of work to get those. And so we did. And my second one, I just told my president, I was like, we're going to go big, because the first one, whatever, but the second one, I felt like we had to work extra hard for that. So I was like, we're going big. And so I don't even think, it doesn't even really fit on it's just my whole hand basically. But yeah, it's definitely worth it.
What occasions usually bring those out when you'll wear them?
They just sit in a case for recruits to see, really.
Well, looking ahead to the rest of the Valley slate, you got a couple of matches this weekend that you can watch on ESPN Plus for the people back home. What do you hope to learn about your team over the next month and a half or so?
I just really want to see how we recover from sucky injuries, to be honest. I mean, just some injuries that you just don't want to see your team go through. And I want to see how we really recover and what kind of resilience we have, because we still have so much Valley play ahead of us. And so just making sure that the girls understand that, we are better than we were last year, and we have the pieces and the tools to continue to compete day in and day out. And so for us, I just want to see, when we go down to Belmont and Murray State, how do we kind of bounce back from that? Regardless of how we play, it doesn't change what's happened to our team. And so we just need to make sure that we're pushing forward.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. Can't wait to watch you the rest of the Valley play.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this has been At the Net with Bradley Volleyball and head coach Alicia Williams.